Alrighty, now that it is January 29th of 2020, a lot of fans around the world have been very excited or curious about the future of the Star Wars franchise by Disney and Lucasfilm, and exactly what the Star Wars franchise will look like in the coming years throughout this entire decade. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Episode 9 is that we do know that this movie was a foundation to create new Star Wars lore by director J.J. Abrams. In case you guys did not know, a lot of the material thrown into there, like the world of Exegol, the Sith Eternal, and even, of course, other elements like Force powers were a way for J.J. to lay down the groundwork for new Star Wars lore and new Star Wars canon material. Now, the thing that a lot of fans have been very, very upset about is the fact that we got so little of our favorite characters like Lando Calrissian, Luke Skywalker, and even, of course, others out there that we all know and love in these new Star Wars movies. Now, when we look at everything related to The Rise of Skywalker, we do know that this production was a very difficult production. We actually talked about this a couple of weeks ago, that Kathleen Kennedy talked about this, Bob Iger talked about this. Even the film's editor, Mary Ann Brandon, said that this production was far difficult than The Force Awakens because of how much less time they had to work on the movie during the principal photography phase of Episode 9. So, moving forward, when we look at Episode 9 here, the thing that's rather intriguing all has to do with the character of Luke Skywalker and actor Mark Hamill. Now that The Rise of Skywalker is out in theaters and a thing of the past, both Disney and Lucasfilm have been focusing on the future of the franchise with their new films and even their new TV shows. However, many fans have been wondering about what could have been before the rewrites and the reshoots for Episode 9. Now, it's noted that during production, both Disney and Lucasfilm deleted the majority of Mark Hamill's scenes from the initial cut of the film that was originally 4 hours and 20-something minutes long, and that many of those scenes consisted of extra Force Ghost sequences and appearances of even a large handful as well of 20 to 30 second flashback scenes for Luke Skywalker that Mark Hamill worked on, that would have been placed in every single act for the film. These were primarily deleted by Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy to focus more on the characters like Finn, Poe, and Rey, and realized that Luke would only take the limelight away from the core characters of the movie. Mark Hamill was said to be frustrated during production over this decision, as many of these scenes were written by George Lucas and even discussed them with director J.J. Abrams. Mark Hamill is said to actually still be frustrated over it until this day of his major scenes that were actually getting cut from the film, one of which included him training a young Ben Solo in front of his Jedi training temple, where a young actor who cast to portray a young version of Ben Solo examining Luke Skywalker's green lightsaber, where Luke would actually teach Ben about a Jedi's weapon. The sequence was actually cut in order to use the less is more concept with Luke at the very end of Act 2, for Luke to only appear on the world of Ahch-To, and then later on Tatooine briefly with his sister Leia. This was a tough decision by Disney and Lucasfilm to make, since the production was very difficult for them this time around. So, the thing about Episode 9, obviously, is that this movie really did go through a lot of different changes. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but this movie actually went through 2 different phases of reshoots. We had reshoots back in November and December of 2018, and then we had another set of reshoots in August, September, and October, which was the more major set of reshoots. The ones in November and December were quite minor and were primarily for the first act of the movie. It's one of the main reasons as to why we did not get a trailer in December of 2018. So, with that being said, when we look at everything related to, Episode 9 here, and everything related to it in that sense, as to why, we did not get any of the Ben Solo sequences, or any of the younger Luke Skywalker scenes training Ben Solo, and having all these different flashbacks, and having all these other Force Ghost segments in the film, it all lies with the big transition they made with the major reshoots back in those months. So, like I say, November and December of 2018 was the more minor reshoots, and August, September, and October of 2019 were the very big reshoots for them to really change the overall tone of the movie, to swap out many of the major segments, some of the plot-heavy stuff, like how originally there was going to be the Dark Acolyte, of how they cut the main villain from the film. So, like I say, guys, Mark Hamill has every right to be frustrated over this, to this very day even, Because, let's face it, when we look at how he disagreed with Rian Johnson over Luke's portrayal, or how Luke was used in Episode 8, you can only imagine how he felt, even with The Rise of Skywalker, of being reduced down to like 3 minutes and change of screen time in Episode 9. Honestly, you know, we did get a flashback, yes, but that was also only a 20-second thing. Now, originally, he was going to have a series of flashbacks that were all going to be around 20 to 30 seconds, but tons of them, actually from point A to point B of the movie. So, with that being said, guys, you know, let me know what you think about Mark Hamill's situation and how Luke Skywalker was handled in the sequel trilogy. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.